Before we start, perhaps I should introduce this series personally. Museum of Gaming is a series of videos dedicated to the most important games in history. Obviously though, important is a broad word which could mean a lot of things. An important game could be one which changed public perceptions of the gaming industry. It could be one which innovated heavily in its mechanics. It could be one which inspired visceral hatred, or which was very good but lacked the attention it deserved. Each week we're going to take one game from throughout gaming history, learn about it, watch some gameplay, and discuss what it meant to players, the industry, and the world. In this first series, the games we're going to look at are Super Mario Bros., Chibi Robo, Mr. Gimmick, Silent Hill, The Elder Scrolls 2, and Maniac Mansion. We're going to start from the beginning of that list today by working through the world's most important platform game. It's Super Mario Bros. Mario started life as Jumpman, a collection of pixels endowed with a hat, overalls, and a mighty moustache, born out of Shigeru Miyamoto's inability to design hairstyles, and the low resolution needing easily defined body parts like Mario's nose. Mario had already made a big splash in 1981's Donkey Kong before he hit Nintendo's first major home console in 1985. Facing off against perennial adversary Donkey Kong, Mario had to rescue his then-girlfriend Pauline from the ape's clutches. While later Donkey Kong installments would reveal Mario as a cruel master, it didn't stop the character gaining popularity and starring in his own arcade game, Mario Bros. Mario Bros. Is where the story of the Mario we know and love really began. In addition to introducing green-branded brother Luigi, the game also brought in the idea of the Mario Brothers being plumbers, turtles as enemies, and jumping from below in order to defeat them. But there wasn't yet much in the way of advancement, and although the game was popular, it was not yet as massive a hit as its sequel would become.
Mario! Mario! Mario!
Super Mario Bros. Launched in late 1985 for both the Famicom, the Japanese Nintendo system which by that point was a couple of years old, and the new Western version, the Nintendo Entertainment System or NES. After the great video game crash of 1983, caused in no small part by the overwhelming number of unlicensed and terrible games being produced for existing consoles, Nintendo had to sell the system as a toy in order to win over nervous retailers, so ended up bundling the console with the cumbersome Rob the Robot and the new game from Nintendo designers Takashi Tezuka and Shigeru Miyamoto. The latter move paid off, and the Mario series bloomed into international fame. Not only did Mario and the NES reboot the now vibrant video games industry in the West, they propelled Nintendo to market domination in all but a few areas. Over 40 million copies of the bundled Super Mario Bros. Were sold, spawning a TV series, a live-action film, and even a children's serial. But what was it about Super Mario Bros. Which made it so famous? From this very first Goomba, players of Super Mario Bros. Learn the basic mechanics of the game. These are Goombas. They'll kill you if touched, but they can be stomped on. These are blocks. Break them to reveal coins or items, like this mushroom. The first level of the game was actually designed to teach players the basics of the mechanics. The first mushroom was quite difficult to avoid and was meant for players to realise that despite the shape, Goombas were harmful while normal mushrooms, or as normal as 2-foot-high moving mushrooms can be, were beneficial. These simple mechanics, coupled with a small number of extra power-ups like the Starman and the Fire Flower which endure today, were not the precursor to an easy game. Super Mario Bros. Challenged players to find efficient routes through levels, to keep moving forward and find innovative ways of getting rid of enemies. This, after all, was the game in which the unstoppable missile which is the Koopa Shell made its debut. Well, unless it bounces back. A wide range of levels made it into the game, including some rather sophisticated platforming sections like pseudo-physics puzzles and the moving platforms, all seemingly driven by the sole desire to send Mario plummeting into a bottomless chasm. Much iconic Mario imagery was born here too, including the level-ending flags, Lakitus, and the big man himself, Bowser. Well, technically he's King Koopa, but you know who we mean. And past him, even more memorable lines. You're welcome, Toad, the mushroom retainer. The game's sound, although severely limited by the NES's low capabilities by today's standards, became a recognisable marker of the Mario games as well. Not just the background music, iconic though it was, but the victory fanfare, the sad jingle heard upon death. Those many, many deaths. And who could forget the pipe noise? Super Mario Bros.' achievements as a standalone game are many, but where it really shone was its effect on the industry. Super Mario Bros. Brought video games into homes where previously arcades had reigned supreme. Super Mario Bros. Laid the foundations for gaming becoming a legitimate form of entertainment. Super Mario Bros. Strapped a rocket to Shigeru Miyamoto's career, leading first to The Legend of Zelda, then through to his work as either director or producer on Kid Icarus, Mother, F-Zero, Pilot Wings, Star Fox, Mario Kart, Pokemon, Nintendogs, and Pikmin. You know what? That's nowhere near the full list. So if you want to know where those games come from, don't wait for me to tell you, although some of them I will, wink wink. Look back to Super Mario Bros. The success of Mario was what made the platformer the dominant form of video game for over a decade. In the same way movie tie-ins today are often first-person shooters, and in the early 2000s they were 3D action-adventure games, the default for any console game released in the late 1980s or early 1990s was a platformer. Alien 3 had a platformer. Home Improvement had a platformer. But perhaps more importantly than any of that, Super Mario Bros. Was played by millions of children as their first experience of video games. Maybe they didn't know it at the time, and Nintendo certainly saw them more as cash cows than as impressionable youngsters. But many of those people went out into the world with the love of gaming and a desire to build it as an art form, which might not have been there if it were not for Mario. They are now the designers, the programmers, the indie developers and the publishers who drive our industry. So whatever you play next, remember the simple platformer packed onto a 40KB cartridge from the autumn of 1985. Indirectly or otherwise, it probably influenced it somewhere along the line. Next time, we're leaving Mario and taking a warp pipe over to a much more recent Miyamoto-produced game which never got the love it deserved. The world's greatest semi-sandbox miniature cleaning simulator. It's Chibi Robo. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.